Hi everyone. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're in the kitchen, and instead of making jewelry, we're going to make dinner. I'm working on a variation of a recipe that I really love, but it's not something that I have all the ingredients on hand for all the time if you're going to make a full-on recipe. So this is a variation on the chicken and figs recipe from Daisy Martinez on her show Daisy Cooks. It's on PBS here. And it's a great show, but there's some kind of wine that she puts in it, and she also cooks with a lot of salt. I never cook with salt, ever. It's not something we can have in this family, so you'll never see it in anything I cook. And the food does not seem to be lacking in any way. It could be just because my taste isn't accustomed to it, but I like to think it's good. So I have Calamurna figs. These are whole. I'm going to cut them in half. And I also have kind of big chunks of sun-dried tomato. I'm going to cut those down into smaller strips. You can buy them julienne cut in the strips, but I couldn't find them at the time, so that's what I have. And although I like to make, because I love to cook, I like to make things from scratch, but I don't have any beef broth that I've already made. So I'm using the jarred sodium-free beef broth, and I'm using 3 chicken breasts. The recipe that she used had chicken thighs, and they have a better taste, a little more flavor because of the higher fat content, but I don't have thighs in the house at the moment. All I have are breasts. But when I do use chicken thighs, I always take the skin off. I never leave the skin on because it's just, you know, fat you don't really need. So let's get started and get cooking. So I'm just chopping the figs right now, and you can see they have a little hard top. I want to take that off because I really don't want to have to worry about lighting on that later. And I'm just chopping them in half and throwing them aside. This whole dish is done in one pan, and that's one thing I really appreciate. So, cuts are kind of hard, and my knife is a little bit dull. If you're using fresh figs, now around here, fresh figs are kind of hard to come by. They come out usually in the late summer, and because they're so soft, they're quite perishable. So I buy them up when I find them, but they're actually kind of hard to find. But if you're using those, you'll add those a bit later in the dish. You won't add them as early as I will be. Now with the sun-dried tomatoes, I'm going to stack a few of them up, and I'm just going to give them a slice. And they are a bit tough. Don't worry, I didn't just cut myself. There we go. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be too pretty. But they are going to be absolutely delicious. Now you think chicken and beef broth, you know, I made a mistake there, but I tried it with chicken broth, and it really just doesn't lend itself to this recipe as much as the chicken broth. It doesn't have as good of a taste. You can hear my microwave going, defrosting my chicken, because I forgot to take it out of the freezer last night. Brilliant, huh? Now with our chicken breast, easy peasy. You can see this is almost partially cooked because I had to defrost it in the microwave. I am a bonehead, I forgot to take it out. So I'm just going to trim off the excess fat. It's kind of hard to see it a little bit after it's, you know, been a little bit cooked, but make sure you trim off all that you see because you don't really want that in there. Many times what I like to do with a good-sized chicken breast is to cut it horizontally because it makes a nice presentation. And, you know, if you're worried about your portion sizes, I kind of use this as a little bit of a deception on the family. So it looks like a whole chicken breast when really it's only half. But these are, this is a decent size. But what I'm going to do this time, and, you know, you can do these however you like. I'm just going to slice them in 3s. Easy peasy. And I'm using the same cutting board that I cut the vegetables on, but if I cut the vegetables after the chicken, definitely clean your cutting board. Even though it gets cooked together, I still don't like the whole cross-contamination thing, so be careful there. Now it's time for the fun stuff. We're going to get cooking now. I'm using extra virgin olive oil and a pan. I don't know exactly how much I'm using. I just sprinkled in kind of like that. Maybe, I don't know, 2 tablespoons. Now, do you love the sound of something cooking in a pan. It sounds good, always smells good, hopefully always. And I can hear the popping. That was because my chicken was a little bit wet, so the water in there will pop when it hits the olive oil. And that's about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, I think. Not too much. So we're just going to brown the chicken on, let's see, that high of a heat. Not too high to burn, but not too low. So you want to get a nice brown crust on it. And then peel in the juices. Now, before you put your chicken in a pan, you can flour it. I didn't. The flour will help thicken the sauce later on, but in this case, I just didn't feel like messing with it. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. And you can use this dish for anything. You can use, your chicken, pork, beef. You can use other cuts of chicken. It's really up to you. It's a very versatile dish. I just started the second batch of chicken. You don't want to crowd your pan. And you might need to add a little more oil. In my pan I did, I think just because of the pan. It's not non-stick. By all means use non-stick, but this pan has, enough of a depth to it that I can add the liquid to it. And when I started the second batch, I also started the teapot boiling for the bouillon, the beef bouillon that I'll be using. While the teapot's heating up, my second batch of chicken is done. And in the same pan, I'm going to put in the sun-dried tomatoes and the figs, just to get them heated up, get the oils and the sugars going in the vegetable and the fruit. So by all means, use the same pan. It's so easy. You don't have to clean it out. Nothing got burnt, so you don't have to worry about a yucky flavor. But as you can see, there's brown bits on the bottom, and that's good flavor. You don't want to lose that. And you can see it right there. It's going to make for a great dish. So I'm just going to add in the figs and the sun-dried tomatoes. Now, chicken bouillon, I didn't measure it out, but let's see what the directions say. A teaspoon is like a serving, so a teaspoon for each ounce. I didn't measure, I just dumped it in with the first cup. This is the third cup of boiling water right in the pan. And I'm going to crank the heat up on this, and I'm going to bring it to a boil. When it comes to a boil, I'm going to reduce it to a simmer, and I'm going to leave it for about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. Now, you don't have to let the sauce go for too long if you don't want to, if you're in a hurry. It's no big deal. I like to let it reduce a bit. But it's been about 15 minutes, and I took 2 or 3 soup ladlefuls of the sauce out of the pan into a measuring pan. And I have 3 teaspoonfuls of Wondra flour. Wondra flour, let me show you. Here it is, that's this stuff. It's perfect for sauces and gravies, so you don't have any lumps. It's very fine flour. I don't really care about lumps. I've had lumps before. It's no big deal. They work themselves out, or you mush them, pick them out, whatever. It doesn't adjust the flavor in any way, in my opinion. So, this is called a roux, if you didn't know that. And it just looks like turkey gravy, really. You don't want to do this in the pan, because all the stuff in there, you won't be able to mix it up quite as well. So when you're done with your roux, you just go ahead, put it in, and mix it up. Now, isn't that pretty? It's only been about 15 minutes or so. It's reduced a bit faster than I expected, and that's fine. Oh, keep an eye on what you're doing, because it may go faster or slower. And you can see the sauce is thickened up, and the chicken is cooked all the way through. So that looks pretty good, doesn't it? I think so too. I'm ready to eat dinner. So, as I said, you can make this with chicken, beef, pork, anything you like. It's very versatile. And recipes for cooking are really just guides. Customize it to the way you like it. Gosh, it smells so good. I wish you could smell this right now. I hope you try it. I hope you keep crafting and get cooking. I'm going to call these two to eat and say tutti a mangia. That's Italian for everybody eat.